Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be taking a look at two new Dragon Synchro monsters. One of them is a light, one of them is a dark. Now this could be a hint potentially that they want to support the whole Chaos Dragon deck idea, because as some of you guys know, it was probably one of the best selling structure decks actually in the game for a very long time. And on top of that, we already have the Ebony and Ivory Dragon, which is also like the white and black dragon as they are called in the TCG. But this could be a hint, like I said, that they want to support this archetype, because not only was it a great selling set, but dragons are kind of just a popular deck anyways. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the first card, Reincarnation Dragon Samsara. Both of these are generic, which means you don't need like a Dark Tuner or a X-Saber or anything specific to make them, so any deck has access to these. So this is a level 5 Synchro monster, only 100 attack, but its effect is basically what it comes down to. So you can only use the effect of Reincarnation Dragon Samsara once per turn. If this card on the field is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect or by being destroyed by battle, you can target one monster in either player's graveyard except for Reincarnation Dragon Samsara and special summon it. Now what's kind of cool, I don't know if you guys can see its chest, but it definitely has the same emblem as the OCG monster Reborn. So the thing is, as you guys know, most cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you basically get to take your opponent's monster or essentially, get something out of their graveyard usually gets banned. Cards like Goyo Guardian, Monster Reborn. Well, Monster Reborn comes in and out, of the game, but a lot of things that, or cards that, get stuff out of the graveyard with little to no cost usually get banned. Now, this could be an excellent card because not only, can you just, sit there and play it defensively and perhaps get something bigger out, you can actually just crash it. And that's why I think it probably has low attack. I mean, could you imagine if this thing had good attack too? That would actually be really, really dumb. But, I think that, in a sense that it's kind of balanced in the sense that it only has 100 attack. So basically, if I want to, let's say you're playing against a Dark World player, for whatever reason, they get Grapha in the graveyard first turn, and for whatever reason, they're unable to, special summon it, for whatever reason. Let's say they activate Pot of Duality, or they make it, so they just can't special summon that Grapha. If you go ahead and just, crash this monster into, whatever other thing that they have on board, and you get back that Grapha, that can really hurt a, Dark World player. Or even if you're playing against a deck that perhaps has a, Necroguard in the graveyard, they would have to negate this attack and waste a Necroguard, because if you were able to, perhaps bring back their Necroguard, they wouldn't be able to negate another, attack. So that is one way you can look at this card. You can basically take key cards out of your opponent's deck. When plants were popular, you could take someone's Spore, you could take someone's Glow Bulb, and really mess them up, because, they might need that specific card, not only to run their deck, but also, perhaps for a, later turn. But what's also really cool with this card is it actually is a target for Debris Dragon, which is actually crazy because, the effect only has to be a monster with 500 or less attack. Now, I know it does say the monster's effects are negated, but, once it goes to the graveyard, it's kind of like getting, a card that, something that brings something back from the graveyard, but its effects are negated. But obviously once it hits the graveyard, that's irrelevant to the game, because its effect activates in the graveyard. So I think that is pretty awesome. So I mean, you could Debris Dragon. Debris Dragon only has 1,000 attack, but you can kind of recycle stuff. So you can. I know this monster also gets to be in face-up attack position, so in that aspect it's kind of cool. Maybe you're going to crash this card, maybe you're going to get something else, then you can go ahead and Synchro or XYZ with your Debris Dragon. So this card could, potentially go up, to, more than what it is right now. I believe right now it's at 1, so, this could be a hint that this card, might go to 2, because, I mean, it definitely supports Reincarnation Dragon Samsara. But next up, we're going to be taking a look at a really insane card, and I actually want to build a deck completely around Moonflower Dragon Black Rose. Now, it actually might be changed in the TCG to Moonflower Black Rose Dragon. As you guys know, sometimes the names get changed from OCG and TCG, but we'll talk about that in a moment, because it actually kind of matters for the deck that I want to mess around with. So, anyways, it's a light dragon synchro monster, level 7, got 2400 attack, and it says when this card is special summoned, or when a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, target one special summon monster your opponent controls, return that target to the hand. You can only use the effect of Moonflower Dragon Black Rose once per turn. So, what's really insane with this card effect is it's not exactly when this card is synchro summoned, it's when it's special summoned. So, I'm looking at you, Blue Rose Dragon. Well, the thing is, it says you can select one Black Rose Dragon, and like I said, guys, I'm pretty sure this card's name will be Moonflower Black Rose Dragon, which could potentially be a thing for Black Rose Dragon. I'm not sure if it won't be a target because things like when it says X Saber and XX Saber, they're technically the same thing, but when you go into what is it, the gear, yeah, there's one of them that's like different. I forgot the exact one, but anyways, it matters, but we'll have to see if that actually matters. But you can use a card like Call of the Haunted and bring back Moonflower, or let's call it Moonflower Black Rose Dragon, because I'm pretty sure that's the name it's going to actually be. But in a deck like the Heretic or Heretic Dragons, you can bring out this card relatively easy. And the thing is, this card is really good not only to be playing offensively, but also defensively, because it makes it so whenever your opponent goes for that level 5 or higher spell summon monster, you can just be like, nope, I'm going to stop that from actually coming out. And on top of that, you're able to, once your opponent makes something that you just can't deal with, you're just like, oh, let me just send that back, basically compulse that thing. So I think that this card has a lot of utility, and this card, it's not going to replace Black Rose Dragon, because we all know sometimes when your opponent sets 5, you're like, I could make a Black Rose right now. If it goes through, I'll just win the game. So you go for it because they're like, oh, heavy is not a thing. But, things like Soul Morning and, there are other cards in the game that can stop it. But the thing is, I think this card is definitely a great addition to the, deck. And like I said, this card will probably be used in the Heretic Dragons more than, other decks. But if your deck can make, level 7 Synchro monsters, I don't see why you wouldn't want to play this card. This card is a fantastic card in the game. It reminds me of, number 101, but this card is really good because it's not only, like I said, great for the offensive ability, but also that defensive ability. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Plus, it's level 7, so hey, if you're playing those Heretic rulers, then you're going to be able to be like, oh, you know what? I've already used this effect. I've bounced back your best card. I'm going to go ahead and XYZ for, I don't know, Dracosac, Big Eye, whatever you need to make for the right situation. But if you guys have any, crazy combos with either one of these cards, or you guys know some type of loop, because I feel like this card right here, even though it says you can only use the effect, once per turn, there's probably something that you can do to, I don't know if you can get your own cards in your opponent's graveyard, because I was thinking that if you're able to do that, you might be able to clog your opponent's board. I know that there's going to be something crazy that you can do with this card. I know, like I said, you can only use the effect once per turn, but obviously, you get to decide, what monster you get out of either player's graveyard. Like I said, I really feel like there's something that can bring this back. There has to be something that can bring this back, and then this can bring the other thing back. There's going to be some loop involved with this. I just know it's going to happen. But like I said, guys, I want to make a deck revolving around this. What I'll probably end up doing, there's probably a bunch of decks that can just throw out a level 6 monster, and then I just at this point I might as well just play Heretics, but I want the whole deck to be around the whole Black Rose, and I'll have to figure out on DevPro if this will actually count as it, because like I said, I feel like the name should count as a Black Rose Dragon, even though it is Moonflower Dragon Black Rose, which really doesn't make any sense. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see what it comes down to as far as the name changing on it. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and like I said, if you have any crazy combos that involve either one of these cards, hey, let me know and I'll build a deck out of it, because I'm stoked to see, what we can do with some of these new Synchro monsters in the game. But like I said, guys, this could be a hint towards, them trying to push, maybe Chaos Dragons just a little bit. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Azneyes signing out.